Have you ever wondered what would happen if you just took $100 every single week and invested it in the S&P 500? Not once, not occasionally, but consistently, week after week. How much could that really grow over time? You might think, well, $100 a week isn't a lot. It's just $400 a month. Surely it won't make a huge difference. But what if I told you that the magic of time and compounding could turn that small weekly habit into a sum that might just blow your mind? Stick around, because by the end of this video, you're going to have a much clearer picture of what disciplined investing really looks like.
Hi there. Before we dive in, please take a moment to read the full disclaimer on the screen.
Now, let's start simple. The S&P 500 is basically an index made up of 500 of the biggest companies in America, like Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, and Tesla. It's widely considered a benchmark for the U.S. stock market. Historically, it has returned an average of about 10% per year before inflation. That's not guaranteed, of course, because the stock market goes up and down, sometimes dramatically. But if you look over the long term, like 20, 30, or 40 years, the trend has been strongly upward. So, let's do a bit of math, and I promise I'll keep it simple. If you invest $100 every week, that's $200 a year. Over 30 years, just putting your money under your mattress, you'd have $156,000. Not bad, right? But here's where things get really interesting. When you invest in the S&P 500, your money doesn't just sit there. It grows. The companies in the S&P 500 pay dividends, and the value of the companies tends to rise over time. This is where compound interest comes into play. Compounding is when the money you earn starts earning money itself. In other words, your returns start to generate their own returns. Over time, this snowball effect can be huge. For example, if the S&P 500 averages 10% annually, $100 invested weekly for 30 years could grow to around $1.2 million. Yes, you heard that right. Over $1 million from a small weekly habit of just $100. Let that sink in for a moment. $100 a week, less than what some people spend on coffee, can turn into a life-changing sum over time. And this isn't some secret trick. It's just the power of consistency and the stock market working in your favor. But here's a question for you. If you knew $100 a week could grow into over $1 million in 30 years, would you start today or wait a few months? Drop your answer in the comments. I'd love to see what you think. Of course, it's not always smooth sailing. The S&P 500 doesn't go up in a straight line. There are bear markets, crashes, and corrections. You might lose 20%, 30%, or even more in a single year. But here's the thing. If you stay invested and keep adding to your weekly $100, you're buying more shares when prices are low, which can actually boost your returns when the market rebounds. This strategy is called dollar cost averaging, and it's one of the safest ways to invest consistently. Let's put it another way. Imagine the market crashes by 30% one year. That's scary, right? But if you continue to invest your $100 each week, you're essentially buying shares at a discount. And when the market eventually recovers, your investment grows even faster than if you had stopped. It's not about timing the market. It's about time in the market. Now, what about taxes and fees? Good question. Investing in a low-cost S&P 500 index fund usually comes with very low fees, sometimes as low as 0.03% a year. That's much cheaper than trying to pick individual stocks or paying a financial advisor huge fees. Taxes do matter, but if you invest in tax-advantaged accounts like an IRA or 401k, you can minimize them and let compounding work even harder for you. Here's another thing to think about. Inflation. Money today isn't worth the same as money 30 years from now. Historically, inflation has averaged about 2–3% per year. But even accounting for inflation, investing $100 weekly in the S&P 500 can still grow your wealth significantly. And that's the power of long-term investing. It beats keeping cash under your mattress every single time. Let's break it down visually, in a way that's easy to imagine. Year 1, you invest $5,200. With 10% growth, at the end of the year, it's $5,720. Year 2, you invest another $5,200. Now your total is $11,200 plus 10% growth, which makes $12,720. By year 3, you've added another $5,200, and compounding continues. It might feel slow at first, but after 10 years, you're already looking at over $100,000. By year 20, it could easily be over $400,000. And by year 30, you're looking at over $1 million. The most amazing part? You don't need a lot of money to start. The key is consistency. People often think they need thousands of dollars to begin investing, but $100 a week is something almost anyone can manage. And starting early makes a huge difference because of the exponential growth from compounding. Here's a fun question for you. If you had the option, would you rather invest $100 a week for 30 years and potentially have over $1 million, or try to get rich quickly with high-risk investments? Think about it and drop your thoughts in the comments. I really want to hear your reasoning. Also, if you're finding this content helpful, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video with anyone who might benefit from it. The more people understand the power of consistent investing, the better. And don't just watch, take action. Start small, stay consistent, and let time do the heavy lifting. You might be wondering, what if I start late? Well, it's true. The earlier you start, the better, thanks to compounding. But it's never too late to invest. Even if you start at 40 or 50, putting aside $100 or more a week can still make a big difference by the time you retire. The math isn't as mind-blowing as starting at 20, but it's still significant. Here's another angle. Many people spend $100 or more every week on things like coffee, eating out, or entertainment. What if you redirected just a portion of that to investing? Over time, that small change could literally transform your life. So here's a question. What's one weekly expense you could reduce or skip to start investing today? Comment below. I'd love to see how creative you can get. And don't forget, the numbers we've talked about are based on historical averages. The S&P 500 has had amazing long-term growth, but no one can predict the future. The stock market will go up, and it will go down. But history has shown that patience and discipline pay off far better than trying to time the market or chase quick wins. So let's recap. $100 a week may not seem like much. Over 1 year, it's $5,200. Over 10 years, it's $52,000 in contributions. But with compounding, by year 10, your money could grow to around $84,000. By year 20, $352,000. By year 30, over $1.2 million. And that's the magic of starting early, staying consistent, and letting the S&P 500 do its thing. Think about this. A habit of just $100 a week, something you might hardly notice in your budget, has the potential to completely change your financial future. It's not luck, it's math. It's not guessing, it's disciplined action. And the sooner you start, the more powerful it becomes. Before we wrap up, here's one more question for you. If you could go back in time and start investing $100 a week 10 years ago, how much do you think you'd have today? And more importantly, what will you do today to change your financial future? Drop your answers in the comments. I want to see your thoughts. Investing doesn't have to be complicated. You don't need a fancy degree, insider knowledge, or a crystal ball. You just need a small habit, consistency, and patience. Over time, those $100 weekly investments can grow into something life-changing. And if you take nothing else away from this video, remember this. It's not about how much you start with. It's about starting at all and starting early. If you enjoyed this video, found it motivating, or realized just how powerful small weekly investments can be, hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with friends and family. You never know who might be inspired to start investing today. And don't forget to comment below your thoughts, questions, or even your own goals. Let's start a conversation, and let's help each other grow financially. Consistency, patience, and discipline. That's the real secret to wealth creation. And it starts with a simple choice: $100 a week, every week. Are you ready to start your journey?